Welcome, dear viewers. Sit back, relax, and sip your coffee. You ever take a job just because the money seemed too good to be true? Yeah. I did too. They paid me to guard a gas station, just sit there, watch some cameras, and keep the place locked after hours. No customers, no cash register, no late-night drunks. Just me, a flashlight, and a set of security monitors. But by 3 a.m. that first night, I knew something was watching me. And it wasn't human. The ad was short. Night security needed, remote location, $2,000 per week. I laughed when I first saw it. That kind of money for babysitting a closed gas station. Either it was a scam or it was some rich weirdo's social experiment. But I was broke. Rent overdue, fridge empty, my car guzzling fumes instead of fuel. So I applied. No interview. No forms. Just a call the next morning. The ad was short. Night security needed, remote location, $2,000 per week. I laughed when I first saw it. That kind of money for babysitting a closed gas station. Either it was a scam or it was some rich weirdo's social experiment. But I was broke. Rent overdue, fridge empty, my car guzzling fumes instead of fuel. So I applied. No interview. No forms. Just a call the next morning. The ad was short. Night security needed, remote location, $2,000 per week. I laughed when I first saw it. That kind of money for babysitting a closed gas station. Either it was a scam or it was some rich weirdo's social experiment. But I was broke. Rent overdue, fridge empty, my car guzzling fumes instead of fuel. So I applied. No interview. No forms. Just a call the next morning. A man with a crisp, cold voice told me to show up that night at 9 p.m. He gave me the address and said everything I needed would be waiting for me. I asked about keys. He paused, then said, "You won't need any. The station locks itself." I should have walked away then. But I didn't. The place was about 40 minutes outside of town, down a cracked, two-lane highway that curved into nothingness. There were no other buildings. No nearby houses. Just trees, dirt, and the constant hum of cicadas. I almost missed the station completely. It sat sunken between overgrown shrubs, half of its neon sign flickering with the letters, gas, hanging by a single screw. The rest of it? Dark. Silent. A single floodlight over the garage bay cast long shadows against the cracked pavement. The main doors were glass but tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. On the ground just in front of the door was a plastic crate. Inside I almost missed the station completely. It sat sunken between overgrown shrubs, half of its neon sign flickering with the letters, gas, hanging by a single screw. The rest of it? Dark. Silent. A single floodlight over the garage bay cast long shadows against the cracked pavement. The main doors were glass but tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. On the ground just in front of the door was a plastic crate. Inside was a black uniform shirt, a laminated badge that read, "Security," a small metal flashlight, and a printed sheet of paper with bold black letters at the top. There were only 5 rules. Arrive at 9 p.m. Do not enter before 9. Lock the entrance from inside. Door will unlock automatically at 6 a.m. Do not attempt to leave early. Do not answer the phone. It will ring. Let it. Security monitors must remain on. If one goes black, shine your flashlight at screen until image returns. If something knocks, do not open the door. I read the sheet twice. Then a third time. This had to be a joke. Right? But the keyless system was real. At exactly 9 p.m., I heard a faint click from the door. It opened easily. Inside, it looked like no one had been in there for years. Dust clung to every surface. Most of the shelves were empty. The fridges hummed faintly, but they were warm inside. At the back of the store was a small counter with a bank of outdated security monitors. A beat-up stool sat in front of them. Each screen showed a different angle: parking lot, front door, behind the station, garage bay, and a wide interior view. The lights flickered as I sat down. The moment I did, the door behind me made a heavy, echoing thunk. It had locked itself. I almost stood back up. But I didn't. $2,000 for 1 week. That's what I told myself. Just stay cool, keep watch, and ride it out. The monitors showed nothing. Just a lonely stretch of asphalt and darkness. At one point I thought I saw movement on the back camera, just a blur, but when I looked again, it was gone. A glitch, maybe. At 12:41 a.m., the phone behind the counter rang. I nearly jumped off the stool. I stared at it. An old rotary thing, the kind you see in movies. It rattled with each shrill ring, but the line was dust-covered, clearly disconnected. It rang 5 times. Then stopped. I remembered rule number 3. Don't answer. Just let it ring. Still. I had the urge to pick it up. Not because I thought someone was really calling. But because something in that silence, right after it stopped, felt too heavy. Like the room had inhaled and was waiting for me to do something. But I didn't. I sat still and watched the monitors. At 1:13 a.m., the camera watching the garage bay cut to black. I blinked. Tried tapping the side of the monitor. Nothing. Then I remembered rule number 4. I picked up the flashlight, clicked it on, and shined it directly at the blank screen. At first, nothing changed. Just a faint reflection of my own face in the dark glass. Then, slowly, the image came back. But it was wrong. The bay was lit by the same overhead bulb as before, but now, in the far right corner of the camera feed, something moved. A shape. Tall. Lean. It stood completely still, like it had always been there, except I knew it wasn't. Its head seemed too small. The arms too long. Like someone had been drawn and stretched in a child's nightmare. It didn't move. Not even a twitch. I kept watching. At 1:37 a.m., it was gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just, gone. I scanned the other monitors, half expecting to see it walking toward the back door or pressed against the front glass. Nothing. I didn't move for 20 minutes. My muscles started to ache from the tension. I gripped the flashlight until my knuckles turned white. Finally, around 2 a.m., the cameras all settled. No movement. No more blackouts. Just, silence. But the knocking started at 2:58 a.m. It was gentle. Deliberate. Tap. 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 It came from the front entrance, the glass doors I had locked behind me. The ones with no blinds, no curtain, no cover. From where I sat, I couldn't see the door. But I could hear it. Tap. 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 I stood, slowly. Edged my way to the far side of the counter where I could peek down the aisle toward the entrance. At first, I saw nothing. Then the knocking stopped. And something shifted. A figure moved from the edge of the doorway, just barely out of view, as if it had been standing perfectly still until I looked. I saw its shoulder. Just for a moment. Pale. Ridged. Like flesh covered in bark. I ducked back behind the counter, breathing hard. I thought about the flashlight. I thought about running for the back. But rule number 5 was clear. Do not open the door. I sat back down and watched the monitors. The front camera was active. I saw the figure move again, this time directly across the camera's view. Smooth. Effortless. Like it was floating more than walking.
It stopped at the door and stared straight into the camera. No face. Just darkness. And then it reached out and tapped the glass with one long, thin finger. Tap, tap, tap. I couldn't breathe. It stood there until 3:46 a.m. Then it turned and vanished into the dark. When the morning came and the door unlocked at 6 a.m., I practically sprinted out. The sun was rising behind the trees. Birds were chirping. The gas station looked like any other abandoned relic. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me. That it wasn't just inside that station, that it knew me now. Knew my scent, my name, my fear. I told myself I wouldn't go back. But the money was already wired into my account. And taped to the inside of my front door was another printed sheet of rules. This time there were 6. The envelope was plain. No return address. Just a single word in blocky red ink. It had been stuck to the inside of my apartment door, right over the peephole, so I couldn't miss it when I woke up. No one had buzzed in. No one knocked. I hadn't heard a sound. Inside was another typed instruction sheet. Same font. Same paper. But this time there were 6 rules. Arrive exactly at 9 p.m. Do not be late or early. Lock the entrance from inside. Door will unlock at 6 a.m. Do not answer the phone. It will ring twice. Let it. If a monitor blacks out, shine your light until it returns. If something knocks, do not respond. Do not speak. You may see someone who looks like you. Do not trust it. That last rule stopped my breath cold. Someone who looks like me? I reread it a dozen times hoping I'd missed something. But no, it was exactly what it said. Not someone acting strange. Not someone familiar. Someone who looks like me. I nearly called the number from the day before, the one that had contacted me originally. But my call history showed nothing. Not a trace. No record of the conversation, no name. I even checked my bank account again. The $2,000 was still there. Every bit of me screamed not to go back. But that money, it had bought me food, paid a chunk of my rent, refilled my gas tank. I wasn't desperate. I was indebted. The second night, I arrived at exactly 9 p.m. The lights inside flickered on the moment I stepped through the door. Same layout. Same dust. Same monitors. The printed rules had been taped to the wall behind the counter, right above my stool. Almost like a shrine. Or a warning. At 9:01, the door behind me locked with that heavy, echoing clunk again. And I was in. Again. The first hour was calm. I kept my eyes glued to the monitors, one hand on the flashlight, the other resting on the old rotary phone that sat dead and dust-covered. Just before 10 p.m. it rang. Twice. RRNG. RRNG. Then silence. It still startled me. Still made my blood feel like it was humming. But I didn't touch it. I sat back, tried to breathe, and waited. That's when I noticed it. In the far left monitor, the one that showed the stretch of pavement leading into the woods, there was something new. A figure. It stood just within the tree line. Not moving. Watching. My stomach twisted. I leaned forward to get a better look. The screen wasn't blurry. The image wasn't distorted. It was a perfect view of me. Same black security shirt. Same badge. Same posture. Just standing there. I spun in my chair, scanning the windows. Nothing. I ran to the front of the station, pressing my face to the glass. Just trees and road. Back to the monitor. The figure was still there. Then it raised its hand. Not to wave, but to point. Right. Me. I backed away. My body went cold. I tried to remind myself of rule number 6. You may see someone who looks like you. Do not trust it. But what did that mean? Was it a hallucination? A copy? A warning? I moved to the back of the store and grabbed a metal wrench from under the sink, just in case. Then I returned to the monitor. The figure was gone. Every screen flickered for half a second. Static rippled across the images. Then, back to normal. By 11:23 p.m. I was jumpy, scanning every corner. Every creak of the pipes felt like footsteps. Every flicker of the lights like breathing. Then, without warning, the camera showing the garage bay went dark. Again. I lifted the flashlight and aimed it at the screen. This time the image didn't return. I tapped the monitor. Nothing. Then something knocked. Knock. 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 I turned slowly toward the front entrance. There, standing against the glass door, was me. Not on the monitor. In front of the actual door. I felt bile rise in my throat. The orbit stood still. Eyes blank. Skin slightly off. Paler. Like someone had drawn my features by memory and forgotten to color them in. It pressed its face closer to the glass. Then its lips moved. It didn't knock again. It just stared, mouth moving slowly, forming words I couldn't hear. I clutched the flashlight tighter. The air felt heavier, like the pressure in the room had doubled. The fake me raised one hand and tapped the glass gently with a single fingernail. I stepped back, tripped over the edge of the rug behind the counter and landed hard. When I scrambled back up, it was gone. The monitors flickered again. Now, on the interior feed, the camera aimed at the aisle between shelves, I saw something moving. A blur. Heading for the back. I ran to the rear door and checked the lock. Still bolted. No signs of entry. But the lights overhead buzzed harder. A dull, almost electronic whining filled the silence. The air smelled like static and iron. That's when the back camera went dark too. I pointed the flashlight. Nothing. Then another knock. This time from the inside wall. I froze. It knocked from inside the building. I didn't run. Somehow, I knew that running would make it worse. This thing, it wanted me afraid. Wanted me to panic. So I did the opposite. I sat back down on the stool. Slowly. Breathing hard. Flashlight on my lap. Eyes fixed on the dead monitor. I whispered to myself. Don't talk to it. Don't trust it. Don't respond. Another knock. Closer now. Then silence. A moment later the monitor came back. But now it showed the inside of the store. The camera angle had changed. It wasn't the old dusty feed showing the full interior. It was close. Focused. From a low angle. It was pointed right at me. Like someone was filming from inside the station. From somewhere below the counter. My face filled the screen. And behind me on the monitor, I saw a pale shape rise up. I spun around, swinging the flashlight. Nothing. Empty aisles. Dust. Cold air. I backed away from the counter. The monitor flickered again. Back to its normal view. I didn't sit down again for the rest of the shift. At 6 a.m. the door clicked open. I didn't hesitate this time. I ran to my car. Slammed the door. Locked it twice. As I pulled out of the lot, I checked the rearview mirror 3 times. Nothing followed me. But my heart wouldn't settle. My hands shook the entire drive home. I thought it was over. But when I got to my apartment, the door was open. Just an inch. Barely ajar. Inside, everything was exactly as I left it. Except for one thing. On the kitchen table sat a mirror. A tall, narrow mirror I didn't own. Propped perfectly upright. And taped to it was a single word typed in the same black font as the rules. That mirror sat in my kitchen like it had always belonged there. It wasn't just that I didn't own it. It looked old. Worn wood frame, edges scuffed and cracked. The glass surface fogged slightly like breath had been left to linger. And then, of course, the note. Watch. One word. Just like before. Same font. Same heavy presence. I stared at my reflection for what felt like 10 minutes, waiting for it to move. Waiting for the mirror to betray me. But my reflection did nothing. It just copied me. Stared when I stared. Tilted when I tilted. Dead-eyed and silent. Eventually, I covered it with a bedsheet. But even after I did, I kept thinking I could hear breathing. Not mine. Something slower. More deliberate. That night, I didn't want to go back to the station. But around 6 p.m. I got another envelope. This one was waiting on the passenger seat of my locked car. Inside was another rule sheet. This time. Day 3 rules, final trial. Arrive at 9 p.m. Not before. Not after. Do not speak to your reflection. Not even once. If the lights go out, do not turn them back on. The monitor in the far left corner will lie tonight. Ignore it. If someone calls your name from behind you, do not turn around. You may be offered a deal. Do not accept it. That last one chilled me. Offered a deal? What the hell had I signed up for? Still, as darkness fell, I got in my car. I don't even remember starting the engine. It was like my body made the decision for me. I arrived at 9 p.m. on the dot. And the moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The air was wrong. Colder than before. And thicker, like it resisted being breathed. The lights didn't buzz this time. They hummed, a low warble that shifted in pitch, like the building was tuning itself. The monitors were already on. All 8 showed the same thing, the gas station. Same feed duplicated. But each had one subtle difference. On one, the pavement was cracked. On another, the sky was red. Another showed me already inside. Sitting at the counter. Staring directly into the camera. My hands trembled as I turned away. The rules were taped up again, on the wall right above the stool. But tonight there was something new under them. A mirror. Tall. Narrow. Identical to the one in my apartment. I hadn't brought it. And I hadn't seen anyone else here. It was leaned up against the counter. Perfectly angled to show me the aisle behind, but also my own face. For the first hour nothing happened. I sat. I waited. My own reflection breathing with me in perfect sync. Then at exactly 10:02 p.m., the lights went out. All of them. The hum died. The store was thrown into pitch black. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't even grab the flashlight this time. Because Rule 3 was clear. Do not turn them back on. From somewhere behind the counter, I heard movement. Something light. Like footsteps not made with feet. Then a voice. Oh, familiar. It whispered from the aisle directly behind me. You're doing well. One more night. I froze. The hairs on my neck rose. I knew better than to turn. But I wanted to. So badly. The voice came again, this time from the opposite direction. We can offer more. Double the money. Just look. The urge was unbearable. My body screamed to move. To see. Then across the store I saw the monitor in the far left corner glow faintly. It had turned red. The only light in the building. On the screen I saw something approaching the station from the tree line. A person. Me. But not like before. This version of me wasn't walking. It was crawling. Upside down. Its arms bent backward. Mouth gaping open like a broken doll. And it was smiling. Its eyes were pitch black. I shut my eyes. Tight. That screen was lying. The rules said so. Still I could feel it. Like heat on my skin. It was close. Watching. Waiting for a mistake. The whispering returned, now right next to my left ear. We can make you whole. Give you everything. I clenched my fist. Then without warning the mirror in front of me cracked. A thin line down the center. Like a mouth opening. And I heard my own voice come from it. We're already inside. The lights flickered. Then returned. I was on the floor, gasping, drenched in cold sweat. My knuckles white from clutching the flashlight. Every monitor had returned to its normal feed, just empty pavement and silent aisles. Except one. The center screen now showed the interior of a small, white room. Padded walls. No windows. In the center of it, strapped to a chair, was me. Thrashing. Mouth gagged. Eyes wide in panic. Behind me stood the man in black, the one from the first night. The shadow in the corner. Only now I saw his face. It was mine. Just off. Too perfect. Skin flawless. No pores. Like a wax figure made by something that didn't understand humans. He leaned down to the strapped version of me and whispered something. Then stared into the camera. Right at me. The screen cut out. I turned away from the monitors, heart pounding, and found myself face to face with the mirror. And this time, my reflection didn't match me. I stood frozen, mouth closed. But my reflection smiled. Then raised its hand even as mine stayed at my side. It pointed at me. Then curled its finger in. Beckoning. The surface of the mirror rippled. Not like glass. Like water. My legs moved before I could think. I stepped toward it. My reflection moved backward, disappearing into the liquid glass. The surface glowed faintly now, red and pulsing. Like a wound. Just before I could touch it, a loud ringing exploded through the station. The phone. Dusty. Dead for 2 nights straight. Now it screamed, "Orange, orange, orange, orange." Not 2 rings. For breaking the rule. Something had gone wrong. I ran to the phone and stared at it. It rang again. My fingers hovered over the receiver. Then the ringing stopped. And the voice came from behind me. "Don't answer that. It's not for you anymore." I didn't turn around. But I felt the breath on my neck. I whispered as calmly as I could. "Leave." The thing behind me laughed. My laugh. But wet. Too slow. "You can't tell me what to do. You let me in." It pressed its mouth near my ear and said, "One night left." Then silence. When I finally turned. The store was empty. The monitors were all blank. The mirror was shattered. And the floor was coated in tiny shards of glass, spelling one final word. Choose. When the clock hit 6 a.m., the door unlocked. I didn't move until sunlight hit my face through the windows. I stumbled to my car, eyes on every shadow. The moment I turned the key in the ignition, the radio burst to life, even though it had been off. A voice, distorted and echoing, whispered through the speakers. "Tomorrow. One last chance." Back at my apartment, the mirror was gone. So was the bedsheet that covered it. In its place, nailed to the wall, was a single photograph. Me. Sitting at the gas station counter. Smiling. Behind me was something. Tall. Black. Faceless. Its fingers resting lightly on my shoulders. "Do you like tea?" Sleep didn't come. I sat on my couch, clutching a kitchen knife like it would somehow protect me from something that could step through mirrors, speak in my voice, and rewrite the rules of time and space. The photo was still nailed to the wall. I tried to take it down, but the nails wouldn't budge, as if they'd fused into the drywall itself. The image never changed, but it felt like that thing behind me in the picture was leaning closer every time I blinked. At 7 p.m. the envelope arrived again. But this time it wasn't left anywhere obvious. I found it lodged in my throat. I'd gone to cough and felt something dry, papery. I panicked and ran to the bathroom mirror, gagging, reached in, and pulled out a damp, crumpled envelope soaked in bile. It had one word written on the front, smeared in ink. Final. Inside were the last set of rules. Fewer this time. Just 3. Final night. You must arrive alone. If anything follows you, do not enter. Do not speak to the man behind the glass. He already knows your voice. Choose before 3:33 a.m. Only one version of you gets to leave. There was no money. No promise of payment. Just that, a choice. I drove in silence. The roads were emptier than ever. No cars. No lights. No life. Even the sky looked flatter. Like it wasn't real anymore. Like someone had hung a sheet of black velvet over the world. As I pulled up to the station, I noticed something strange. There were 2 gas stations. Identical. Side by side. One was dark. Quiet. Normal. The other had a faint red glow coming from the windows and a flickering sign that read. I blinked and they were gone. Only one station remained. But I swear I hadn't imagined it. I stepped inside. The air was colder than usual, thick with a coppery taste. It reminded me of blood. All the lights were on, buzzing in a pattern that didn't quite sound random. Like Morse code. I didn't want to decode it. The mirror was back, bigger now. Almost the size of a wall. And it didn't reflect me. It reflected the store, yes. The shelves. The monitors. The counter. But where I should have been was someone else. Another me. Same clothes. Same face. But his smile never moved. He just stood there. Watching. Waiting. I sat at the counter and for the first time there were no monitors. Just one small glass panel like a window in the middle of the wall. Tinted black. I stood and approached it. My reflection shimmered faintly, then warped. The man behind the glass emerged. Not physically, but through his presence. The air pressure dropped. The lights dimmed. And then he leaned forward. He wore my face. But smoother. Too perfect. Dull-like. His eyes were just pools of shadow. He raised one finger to his lips. Then his mouth opened, but no words came out. Only mine. My own voice echoed from the ceiling, walls, and floor simultaneously. You are incomplete. The lights behind me began to shift, casting shadows in impossible directions. There are many versions of you. Only one belongs here. Choose. Suddenly the store changed. I was no longer alone. To my left, another me stood, bruised and shaking. Dried blood on his knuckles, eyes darting like a cornered animal. To my right, another version. Calm, smiling, eyes glassy. His arms limp at his sides. Behind me I felt breath. A fourth version, unseen but present. Breathing in perfect rhythm with mine. I backed into the counter. My heart hammered. Choose what? I said aloud. My voice cracked. The mirror responded, displaying images like a reel of footage from different timelines. One version of me quitting the job on the first night, only to find the gas station followed him home. Another version laughing manically, setting the station on fire, only for it to rebuild itself around him. A third version kneeling in the parking lot, whispering nonsense as shadows devoured him. And one last image. Me. Oh. Alone. Walking away. Free. But it flickered. Unstable. 3:17 a.m. Time was running out. The man behind the glass opened his hand and revealed something. A coin. Rusted. 2 heads. He placed it on the ledge between us and tapped it twice. Then he whispered, not aloud but in my thoughts. Heads, you forget. Tails, you remember. The coin spun on its own. Faster. Louder. I turned back to the others. They were all watching me now. Each version of myself started muttering. One cried. One laughed. One whispered secrets I'd forgotten, like the name of my childhood pet or the song my mother sang when I was sick. The last one said nothing but mouthed please. The mirror shimmered again and split down the middle. Inside was a hallway. Endless. Black. And at the end of it, a door with my name carved into it. Behind me the phone began to ring. Not one ring. Not 2. 3. Exactly. I approached it. Picked it up. The voice on the other end was mine. Breathless. frantic. Don't choose him. Please. You're the real one. I swear. I remember Mom's hands. The fire. The dog. Please don't let me die again. Click. Silence. I stood in the center of the store. 4 versions of me. 1 mirror door. 1 coin on the counter. 1 choice. And suddenly I knew. I wasn't choosing between them. I was choosing which me the world would remember. Which one deserved to be real. The rest would stay here. Or worse. 3:32 a.m. I walked to the counter. Picked up the coin. It was warm. I looked into the mirror and whispered, "Let it be me." I flipped the coin. It didn't land. It vanished midair. And all the other versions screamed in unison. Their bodies contorted, mouths gaping wide, soundless, as they were sucked backward into the mirror like smoke pulled by a vacuum. Only I remained. The mirror went still. It showed me and only me. No shadows. No lies. Then the glass door opened on its own. Outside the sky was blue. Morning. Sunlight. I stepped out dazed. Stumbled toward my car. There was an envelope on the windshield. Inside, a photo of me. Smiling. Alone. The back said, "Welcome back." That should have been the end. I should feel whole. But I don't. I can't remember my brother's name. Or if I ever had one. There's a scar on my arm that wasn't there yesterday. A birthmark on my shoulder I don't recognize. And sometimes when I look in the mirror, my reflection doesn't smile when I do. It's been 3 weeks since I left the gas station. I should feel relieved, recovered, reborn. Instead, I feel hollow. Like I've slipped into someone else's skin and they're still screaming beneath it. I've tried to get on with life. Wake up, make coffee, pretend like everything's normal. But there are cracks in the illusion. Splinters of truth bleeding through the world. Like last night, when I walked past a mirror in the hallway and saw my reflection blink after I did. Let me start from where I left off. That morning, after the final night at the station, I drove straight home. The sun was up. Birds chirped. My phone, which had been dead for days, buzzed back to life. A dozen messages from friends, even my landlord. They thought I'd vanished. I laughed, actually laughed, thinking maybe it really was over. I survived. I burned the rules. Blocked the number that had sent me the messages. Tossed the cursed photo into the river. But peace doesn't follow you home from hell. It waits until you're vulnerable, then knocks on your door. It started with the man on the street. He was standing across from my apartment building. Same clothes every time. Black hoodie. Face in shadow. He never moved. Never approached. But every day he was closer. First across the street. Then at the corner. Then just outside my door. I called the police. They found nothing. Said the footage from the street cam was corrupted. When I checked the video myself, I saw something worse. Me. Just standing there. Smiling. The second sign was my voice. I began hearing myself whispering when I was alone. Sometimes in the shower. Sometimes in my sleep. Sometimes from the other room, even though I lived alone. It wasn't words at first, just sounds. A murmur. A groan. Then clear as day. He doesn't belong here. He chose wrong. You let the wrong one leave. I ripped every mirror out of the apartment. Covered reflective surfaces. Turned off screens. But it didn't help. Because the voice wasn't coming from the reflections anymore. It was coming from inside me. I tried to find the gas station again. To return. To undo the choice. But it's gone. I drove for hours along that same barren road. Nothing. Not even a turn off. Not even a sign. It's like it never existed. But every night at 3:33 a.m. I dream I'm back there. Same fluorescent lights. Same shelves. Same mirror. Except this time I'm not me. I'm behind the glass. Watching. Begging. Trapped. One night, I woke to find myself standing at the foot of my bed. Not waking up in bed. Literally standing at the foot of it, staring at my own sleeping body. And when my eyes opened, they were his eyes. The one who stayed behind. The one I left. And I knew, in that moment of frozen terror, what the final rule really meant. Only one version of me got to leave. But all the others never stopped trying. It wasn't long before they started making contact. Notes slipped under my door, written in handwriting too neat to be mine. You don't belong. Photos mailed to my mailbox showing me doing things I'd never done. Standing in crowds. Laughing with strangers. One picture showed me staring into a mirror, but the reflection was still turned around. And then the worst of them arrived. A photo of me asleep in my bed. The timestamp? 10 minutes before I woke up. The location? Not my address. The background looked eerily familiar. White tiles. Harsh lighting. The gas station. I started to spiral. Stopped answering my phone. Didn't leave the apartment. Every time I looked into a mirror, any reflective surface, I saw that same version of myself. Watching. Waiting. Sometimes he waved. Once I waved back. And he smiled wider. I tried therapy. Tried pills. Whiskey. Prayer. But nothing could erase the feeling that something had crossed over with me. Something unseen. Like a tether that still connects me to that place. And maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the one who crossed over at all. Maybe I never left. 2 nights ago I finally snapped. I set up cameras all over the apartment. Mirrors too. I stayed up until 3:33 a.m. Sat in the middle of the room with a flashlight and a hammer. Just waiting. The clock ticked. Nothing. I almost laughed at how paranoid I'd become. Then I checked the camera feeds. Every one of them showed a different version of me. One pacing back and forth. One screaming silently. One sitting motionless with pitch black eyes. And one, sitting directly behind me, breathing down my neck. I turned. Nothing. Then I looked into the nearest mirror. He was there. Not moving. Not blinking. Just smiling. And I realized then what this has always been. The job wasn't guarding the station. It was keeping something inside. And when I left, I opened the door. Last night, the final envelope arrived. I found it tucked under my pillow. Plain white. No name. No seal. Just a single sentence typed on the page. Would you like to reapply? And below it, a checkbox. Yes. No. I didn't sleep. I didn't answer. But deep down, I think the choice was never mine. Because tonight, I woke up back at the gas station. The lights are buzzing again. The shelves are stocked. The mirror is whole. And I can feel them behind it. Watching. Waiting. And I know now what this place truly is. Not a building. Not a business. A cage. For people like me. People who've looked too closely at what hides in the cracks of the world. People who know something watches them. And once you see it, you never unsee it. There's only one rule now. The only one that matters. Don't let it become you. But I think it's too late. Because tonight when I looked into the mirror, I smiled back. And my reflection didn't. Would you like help outlining a new horror story or creating a trailer style?